just got the promotion, the raise, the recognition you have been chasing for years. So why does it feel like absolutely nothing? Why is there a hollow space in your chest that no amount of success seems to fill? You are addicted to achievement, and it is destroying you from the inside out. This is not about laziness. This is not about gratitude. This is about a psychological trap that the most driven, most ambitious, most successful people on earth fall into, and most of them never escape. Achievement addiction, hidden trap. Today we are going to dismantle the machine that keeps you running on a treadmill that goes nowhere. We are going to explore why the dopamine of success keeps shrinking, why your identity is built on quicksand, and why the emptiness you feel is not a bug in your system. It is the system itself. As the psychoanalyst Karen Horney warned, the search for glory is the most effective way to destroy the real self. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why achieving more will never be enough, and what actually will. Think about the last time you accomplished something big. Maybe you closed a deal, finished a project, or hit a financial goal. Remember that rush, that surge of energy that made you feel invincible. That was not fulfillment you were feeling, that was a dopamine hit. And here is what neuroscience tells us about dopamine. It does not reward you for getting what you want, it rewards you for wanting more. Dr. Anna Lemke, a psychiatrist at Stanford, explains in her research on addiction that dopamine operates on a pleasure-pain balance. Every spike in pleasure is followed by a compensatory dip below baseline. The higher the high, the lower the low. This is why the first million feels incredible, the second feels good, the third feels normal, and the fourth feels like nothing at all. You are not broken. Your brain is functioning exactly as designed. It is a prediction machine that recalibrates your baseline after every achievement. The goalpost does not just move, it was designed to move. Dopamine recalibrates always. That sense of arrival you keep chasing. Neurologically, it cannot exist permanently. But this raises a far more unsettling question. If the high always fades, why do you keep chasing it with such desperation? Because the chase was never about success. It was always about escaping a feeling. Psychologist Nathaniel Branden spent decades studying self-esteem and came to a devastating conclusion. Most high achievers are not driven by a love of excellence. They are driven by a terror of inadequacy. Terror. Somewhere in childhood, a message was planted. Maybe it was a parent whose love felt conditional on performance. Maybe it was a teacher who only noticed you when you won. Maybe it was simply growing up in a culture that equates your value with your output. You learn that you are only worthy when you are producing and achieving. This becomes your operating system, not a conscious belief, but a deep unconscious conviction that without achievement you are nothing, and so you achieve, relentlessly, not because it fulfills you, but because stopping feels like death. As Branden wrote, the first step toward change is awareness. The second step is acceptance. If this pattern is starting to feel uncomfortably familiar, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring the depths of your psyche with me. Because what comes next goes even deeper. The question is not why you achieve. The question is what happens to your identity when you cannot. Here is where it gets truly dangerous. When your entire sense of self is built on what you accomplish, your identity becomes a hostage to performance. Psychologist Carol Dweck's research at Stanford revealed something fascinating. People with performance-based identity do not just fear failure, they experience it as an existential threat. Failure equals death. Think about it. If you are your achievements, then what are you when you are not achieving? If you are your job title, what happens when you lose the job? If you are your productivity, what happens on a day you cannot produce? You disappear, you cease to exist in your own mind. This is why high achievers have panic attacks on vacation. This is why retirement triggers depression in executives. This is why weekends feel threatening to workaholics. The stillness is not boring, the stillness is terrifying. Because in the silence, without the noise of achievement, you are forced to confront the person underneath, and you are not sure anyone is there. Your identity has been outsourced to your resume. As the philosopher Kierkegaard observed, the most common form of despair is not being who you are. But this identity crisis is fed by something even more insidious. Every achievement comes with something attached to it: recognition, praise, admiration, status. And this is where the addiction deepens, because it is not just the dopamine of accomplishment you are hooked on, it is the external validation that comes with it. Psychologist Edward Desai, one of the founders of self-determination theory, demonstrated through decades of research that when motivation becomes externalized, when you do things for praise rather than purpose, intrinsic motivation collapses. You stop knowing what you actually want. You only know what will get applause. You have trained yourself to need other people to tell you that you matter. This creates a devastating dependency. You become like someone addicted to a substance they cannot produce themselves. Your sense of worth is always in someone else's hands. A boss, a client, an audience, social media followers. Every like, every compliment, every award becomes a temporary fix, and like any fix, the tolerance builds. You need more praise to feel the same level of okay. External validation, empty calories. As the psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott described it, it is a joy to be hidden and disaster not to be found. The irony is brutal. The more successful you become, the hungrier you get, and that hunger leads somewhere very dark. So here you are, achieving more than most people dream of, and feeling less than you ever expected. This is what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill on steroids, but for achievement addicts, it operates with a cruel twist. Every goal reached creates a temporary high, followed by deeper emptiness. It is not just that the pleasure fades. It is that each accomplishment that fails to fill the void actually confirms your deepest fear, that maybe nothing ever will. Nothing. Clinical psychologist Dr. Avram Weiss describes this as the achiever's paradox. The more you accomplish, the more evidence you gather that accomplishment does not work. But instead of questioning the strategy, you double down. More goals, bigger targets, higher stakes. It is identical to substance addiction. When the drug stops working, the addict does not quit, they increase the dose. And the dose keeps escalating until something breaks. Burnout, breakdown, relationship collapse, health crisis. These are not failures of discipline, they are the inevitable consequence of using achievement as anesthesia. You are not failing because you are not achieving enough, you are failing because achievement was never the medicine. But the spiral has a mechanism underneath it that almost nobody talks about. Achievement addiction does something subtle and devastating to your emotional life. It numbs you, not with substances, but with busyness. When you are constantly chasing the next goal, you do not have time to feel, and that is exactly the point. Busy equals numb. Psychotherapist Dr. Jonas Webb, who pioneered research on childhood emotional neglect, explains that many high achievers learned early that emotions were inconvenient. Sadness slows you down. Anger is unproductive. Vulnerability is weakness, so you learn to override your emotional system with action. Feeling sad, work harder. Feeling anxious, set a new goal. Feeling empty, chase another achievement. 1. Sadness gets buried under productivity. 2. Anger gets channeled into ambition. 3. Loneliness gets masked by busyness. 4. Fear gets disguised as drive. Over time, you do not just suppress negative emotions. You lose access to positive ones too. Joy, connection, presence, love, they all require the same emotional circuitry you shut down. As Jung observed, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You cannot selectively numb emotions. When you numb the pain, you numb the joy too. This emotional disconnection has consequences that extend far beyond your inner world. Achievement addiction does not just hollow you out, it hollows out everyone around you. Because here is what people close to high achievers experience. They experience someone who is physically present but emotionally absent. Someone who treats conversations like items on a to-do list. Someone whose eyes glaze over when the topic is not about progress or performance. Dr. John Gottman, the leading researcher on relationships, identified that the #1 predictor of relationship failure is not conflict. It is emotional withdrawal. And achievement addiction is the most socially acceptable form of emotional withdrawal. Your partner does not feel loved because your love is conditional on your mood, and your mood is conditional on your last accomplishment. Your children learn that presence is something that must be earned, not given. Your friends slowly stop calling because every conversation becomes a status update disguised as connection. Present but absent. The cruelest irony, many achievement addicts are unconsciously trying to earn love through success. They believe that if they become impressive enough, they will finally be worthy of connection. But the very mechanism they use to earn love is the thing destroying it. As the existentialist philosopher Martin Buber wrote, "All real living is meeting." And you cannot meet anyone when you are always running. But there is a moment when all of this comes crashing down. comes a moment in every achievement addict's life where the system fails, a health scare, a relationship ending, a burnout so deep you cannot get out of bed, or sometimes the most terrifying version. You achieve the biggest goal of your life and feel absolutely nothing. Nothing. This is the crash point, and paradoxically, it is the most important moment of your life, because it is the moment the illusion shatters. The illusion that the next achievement will be the one that finally makes you feel whole. The illusion that you can outrun the void inside you. Existential psychologist Irvin Yalom describes this as a confrontation with ultimate concerns. When the structures you built to avoid facing yourself collapse, you are left with the questions you have been running from. Who am I without my accomplishments? What do I actually want? What am I so afraid of feeling? The crash point is not the end, it is the beginning of actually living. Abraham Maslow, who studied peak experiences in high-performing individuals, noted that many of the most self-actualized people he encountered had gone through a profound crisis of meaning first. What is necessary to change a person is to change his awareness of himself. The breakdown is not the enemy. The breakdown is the doorway, and on the other side of that door, there is a different way to live. Recovery from achievement addiction does not mean abandoning ambition. It means fundamentally rewiring why you pursue it. Not less, but different. The shift is from extrinsic motivation, doing things for results, recognition, and validation, to intrinsic motivation, doing things because they align with who you actually are. Dr. Edward Desai and Richard Ryan's self-determination theory identifies three core psychological needs. Autonomy, the feeling that your choices are your own. Competence, the feeling that you are growing. And relatedness, the feeling that you are connected to others. 1. Autonomy, are you choosing or performing? 2. Competence, are you growing or proving? 3. Relatedness, are you connecting or impressing? Notice what is not on that list: status, wealth, recognition, achievement for its own sake. The research is overwhelming. People who pursue intrinsic goals report higher well-being, better relationships, and ironically, often achieve more because they are not paralyzed by the fear of failure. When you stop trying to prove yourself, you finally have the energy to be yourself. As Viktor Frankl discovered in the most extreme circumstances imaginable, success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. It must ensue as the unintended side effect of one's dedication to a cause greater than oneself. But knowing this intellectually is not enough. You need practical steps. So how do you actually break free? Not with another productivity hack, not with another goal-setting framework, but with a radical act of self-confrontation. First, practice deliberate stillness. Sit with the discomfort of doing nothing, not meditating to be more productive, not resting to perform better, just being. Notice what comes up. The anxiety, the guilt, the voice that says you are wasting time. That voice is the addiction talking. Second, separate your identity from your output. You are not your job title. You are not your net worth. You are not your last accomplishment. Start asking yourself a different question. Not what did I achieve today, but what did I experience today? Third, reconnect with your emotional life. The emotions you have been numbing with busyness are still there, waiting. Grief, loneliness, joy, tenderness, let them surface. They are not obstacles to your success. They are evidence that you are alive. External validation cannot fill an internal void. Only self-acceptance can. And finally, redefine what enough means. Not enough achievement, enough as a person. Right now, before the next goal, before the next win. You are always enough. The achievements were never the proof. If you made it this far, comment enough if you are ready to step off the treadmill. You are already enough. Welcome to the Psyche Project.